Hi there, Rob here, and part 2 of doing rings and adjusters. Now, this is what we've got so far. We can do better than this. And to actually make a ring that's attached with a loop or tape, we'll need to do a little bit more. So what I'll do, I'll just go back, or I'll take this apart again. If I just go back a few steps from where we were before, where I've just got my tape left here. Now, I'll just get rid of that extra path there, and I'll hide that one there. Now, if you do have a compound path, you can actually take it apart into its original components. Right click, release compound path, or object, compound path, release, and you'll get your two circles back. Now, when I come to have my tape come in, I actually want it to fold or look like it's folding over this inner part of the ring here. So I'm going to use this inner ring again to cut out part of the tape. So I'll just make a copy of that. I'll get rid of the fill when I've done that. So many ways we can make a copy. This is always a nice one. If I hold down the Alt key and I just drag the little blob that shows that that object is selected up onto the top of the layer, so onto the layer it's in at that point. You can see the plus by the little hand I've got there. If I let go of the mouse, it makes a perfect duplicate. And I'll just reset that back to have no fill, and I'll just take that down to the bottom out of the way there. We'll use this again, and then I can go back, and again I can use the little donut there, shift and shift to select both parts, and I'll make my compound path again. I think I'll make it slightly less violent colour. So I want to cut out this tape along this line here. So if I get rid of my ring there, and you can see here I've got the one that I copied before. I'll just bring that up a layer there, and I'll just shorten the rectangle here so it goes in here there. So basically I just want to cut out that part of the tape using that circle there. So if I select the circle, object, object, path, divide objects below, and it's divided my tape into two parts. I don't need that part. And then if I bring back my ring and then bring that path above the ring there, you can see how we've got the start of something that looks like it's actually overlapping that ring there. Now I'll do Command or Control if you're on a PC, plus, just to zoom in. Always good to work in close. Now we're going to finesse this a little bit. For starters, it wouldn't be that close. We have to allow for the thickness of whatever material. So if I just select that part there, and just I'll use my arrow key, my up arrow key, just to nudge it up a few fractions there. And I just want to curve the corner of this here. It would go over, it wouldn't be that sharp a point there. I want to curve over this corner. Now if you are using Adobe Illustrator earlier than the CC version, you won't be able to do this. This was brought in the Creative Cloud version. So hold by if you are using CS6. So what I'm going to do is use the rounded or rounding corners option. I'll use my white direct selection tool, and I'll just select that point, and I'll shift select and do the other point. You can see the rounded corner option there, the little circle that's popped in there, and if I just click and pull on that, because I've selected both of them, it will pull them both in together equally. And if it's pulled in a little too much, or pull that down a bit, I'll just go back with my black selection tool and just nudge that up a little bit further. And if I zoom out, you can see it's got the effect of material going over there. So that's how it would look from the front. And we will do another version for the top, but if I finish off everything at the bottom first, and we can just reflect that up to the top for our second version. So this will be the top view, Now, if I want to do a bottom or a rear view where the tape would come over and be attached around here, firstly, I'd have a short about the tape. So what I'm going to do is just make a direct duplicate here. So I'll just select that top path there, edit, copy, edit, paste in front, and then I'm just going to get my white selection tool and just pull that bottom part of the rectangle up. And as that overlaps, there we've got this part of the tape as it goes in from the back, and this part of the tape as it comes over in front of us. So I want to add some stitching in here, just a square with a couple of diagonals across there. I could just try and estimate it and just draw a full rectangle, but I'll just show you how I'm going to do it this way by using a copy of this shape here. What I'm going to do, just to make it easier to see to start with, I'll just turn a few things off. So I just want a square or rectangle inside there. So I'm just going to use this as my original. Edit, copy, edit, paste in front. And then if I hold down the Alt key and the Shift key, that will reduce, if I drag in the corner, that'll reduce my shape down. And once I've got the border just about right, so that's how I want my border, this is where I want my stitching, I'm going to use this rectangle, this is going to be my rectangle for my stitching, and by reducing it using the Alt and Shift, using the copy, I get a nice clean border. I can view it like that. You don't necessarily have to do it this way. It's another technique, and it's always worth learning, being able to use shapes again to make other shapes. They start from the same place, so they all align quite nicely, and you can easily judge things like borders and indents and offsets and things. So all I need to do is I'm actually going to draw a line across here. That will be the top of my rectangle here. Just to make things easy, I'll turn off that path there. So all I'm going to do is use that line to object, path, divide objects below, and then just get rid of the top part there, and then apply my stitching style. And here's one I prepared earlier. That's my stitching style there. And then if I turn on the other layers, there's my fold over tab. There's my tab from behind. So now I've got my stitching there. I can use that as a guide. If I just go and get the line segment tool again, and I'll just click and drag from corner to corner, use that alignment there. I'll do the same thing, click and drag from corner to corner there. And now I've got a nice square stitch. Now if I zoom in slightly, if the stitches look slightly odd, slightly offset, you can actually adjust them so they have neater corners. It looks a bit strange there. So if I go and select that rectangle, go to the stroke panel, and it's this dash alignment option here. I've already got a dashed line set up here. If I click on that dash alignment tool, you can see how they all move around slightly, and now the corners are nice and even, and so forth. And I can apply that to the diagonals as well. And they all line up. I've got a nice center there. It looks slightly better. Now, depending on how you're setting up your drawing, what you're actually indicating, you might actually need to show that stitching on the front and on the back. So this would be the back view, showing the tab going over. If I select that object and then turn it off, that might be the view from the other side, or you might just have the stitching another piece in there. It depends on your design, it depends on your drawing. What I can do is just select those three stitch lines, and I'll do this in the layers panel. So shift and click on the little donut there. Once I've got all three together, I'll right click and group, and I'll label that stitches. And yes, get back into labeling now. So I'll just label back tab, front tab, and then my compound path, I can rename that as a ring. So that's the full set. All I need to do is have the other side of the ring, so the it's attached on both sides. If this was a bra strap, something like that, you might just have a basic ring like this. But if you do need to use the same again, attaching both sides, I can now just select all three of those objects like that. And this is where you need to make sure you've got your smart guides turned on. So if you go to the view menu and smart guides, this option here, smart guides give us more information when we're going around the screen. If I hover over the center of that ring, you can see it actually pops up and says center. I'm going to use that as my reflection point to reflect this selection here. So I'm just going to go and get my reflect tool and hold down my Alt key, and you can see as I hover over the center of the ring, it actually highlights the ring and shows where the center is. So I can click on there, so I know I've got an exact reflection around the center of that ring. I've already got the horizontal reflection axis selected. I want to copy that, and then if I zoom out slightly, you can see how I've got a ring attached by two tagged and sewn tabs. And if I need to show versions without the stitches, I can just turn the stitches off there and turn off the front tab for each one, and that's the view like that. To make it easy, you probably want to go in and group these together as well. Either put them on a sub layer of their own or group them together, and do the same down below here. So just turn that back on there, and you can either shift select using the little donuts there, the target selector on the layers panel, or just drag across the objects. They're all selected, right click and group. And there we go. We've got our ring, our tags